Hello, we are the Senior Design Chess Team number 32. I'm David Gussler, and I'm a senior in electrical engineering. And my subsystem was the lights and sensors.
Hi, I'm Noah. I'm a senior in computer engineering, and my subsystem was the game logic.
Hi, I'm Reagan, and I'm a senior in electrical engineering, and my subsystem was power distribution.
My name is Shui Feng. I'm a senior in computer engineering, and my subsystem is
So I will be describing our block diagram. At the center, we have a STM32 microcontroller. And then we also have some UI control buttons, a LCD screen, some reed switches that are interfaced via a parallel to serial shift register, some RGB LEDs that need logic level conversion, and then we also have a 5-volt power supply and a 3.3 volt buck regulator. Our requirements are outlined right here. Okay, so right now you can see our chessboard starting up. We just programmed a fun little startup sequence for it to show off the functionality of the RGB LEDs. Now Noah will demonstrate the user interface functionality.
So we have our LCD screen here and then the 4 buttons. So to start it up, you can hit any of the buttons. So our first option here is play, and that would just start a game with a 20-minute timer. We can go over to settings and hop into them. So now we have our timer settings, our different modes. So if we go into timer, we have a rapid setting, which is 3 minutes. We have a blitz setting, which is 5 minutes. We have an Armageddon, which I believe is 15 minutes. And then a bullet, which I believe is 10 minutes. So if we just start a quick rapid game. So this is now if we go to select modes, if we wanted to play against an AI, we could have AI mode or PvP mode. So we're just gonna do PvP, and then we're just gonna play.
So you can see the timer starting to count down for player 1 as he contemplates his move.
So as you notice, when I picked up that piece, these 3 spaces lit up. That's because the pawn on its first move has the 2 spaces in front of it to move, and then this space lights up green to let you know that's the origin space of that piece if you wanted to place it back down and pick up a different piece. So if I go ahead and place it here, and then I hit the end turn button, you'll notice the lights come off, and the player 2 timer starts counting down. So we're just going to go through a couple basic moves really quick. And then if he picks up his pawn, you'll notice that this space under this pawn lights up red. That means that this pawn is capturable. And you'll also notice that because there's a pawn here, the space in front of that pawn didn't light up because it can't move here, because it can't capture this piece. It can only capture diagonally.
So I'll go ahead and capture his piece. Place mine down and in the turn.
So I'm just going to move one forward. Now we can show en passant if you want to move your piece here. All right, so now I should be able to capture his piece en passant. So you'll see that space lights up blue because it's a double action move. So what I'm first going to do is place my piece down on this space, hit the end turn button, and then you'll see his space lights up red. So I go ahead and take this piece and then press end turn. And now that successfully went through, then we can just keep playing as normal. So that's your move.
Okay.
So he can take my pawn now, which is why it lights up red, but since it's also that pawn's first move, you'll notice that it has 2 lights in front of it, as already mentioned over here.
I think I'm going to take your pawn.
Oh. As you can see, the reed switches tend to be a little finicky sometimes.
Yeah, we've been having some issues with those.
So here's just a normal knight move, up 2, left 1. Perfect.
Okay, show a king move, I guess. go. Okay, so we're going to go and show off some of the error messages now. So right now, when I lift my piece up, it'll say opponent piece because right now it's player 1's turn and I'm player 2. So to give the control back to him, I'll put my piece back down in my turn, and you can see the timer continues and it's back to him.
So another little error message that we have, if I pick up my piece, you'll see that it lights up the valid spaces. Let's say I like move over here. Let's say I move over here. It'll say invalid move, light up the origin space of the piece. So I have to go ahead and put that piece back and then set it back down. You'll see we're about to run out of time. So the final error message would be a piece that has no moves left, or no moves to make. So if I go ahead and pick up this bishop, you'll see that its origin space once again lights up red, and it's going to go ahead and say no valid moves on the screen. So to clear that, I'm going to have to go ahead and put my bishop back, and then end my turn again. And you'll see I'll just begin recounting down my timer, and then I'm just free to go ahead and make any moves that I want after that. Okay, so you can see that I've gotten my pawn all the way almost into the back rank of the black's pieces. So if I go ahead and pick this pawn up, you'll notice that space underneath the rook will light up blue. And yes, typically those spaces will light up red since you're capturing that piece, but since it's a two-step move consisting of piece promotion, I just go ahead and place my piece there. Place my piece. Place my, no, not for this. There we go. So you can see we enter the piece promotion menu. So we can choose between a knight, a bishop, a queen, and a rook. So I'm gonna go ahead and choose a queen and then end my turn. And then, so now it is black's move again. So if I go ahead and just move his space just to prove. So if I go ahead and pick up this piece, you'll see that all the queen moves are now generated. So this pawn is actually now a queen. This queen over the space, and as you'll notice on the screen, it's going to say check because this king can be attacked. And to go ahead and clear that message, you're going to just go ahead and hit the end turn button again. It'll go ahead and move on to P2's turn. And you're going to notice if I try and pick up pieces that don't have moves, it's just going to light up red and say no valid moves. Okay, so now you'll see that when I picked up this king, because castling's available, this space over here lit up blue. So if I go ahead and place this piece down, you'll see that now the two LEDs switch to these two, saying that you need to pick this rook up, down, and then place it back over here. And if you go ahead and end turn, it'll go ahead and continue to player 2. So I'm going to go ahead and show checkmate now. You'll see it's very similar to how check was set up with just a couple additional moves. So if I go ahead and move this queen here, then turn, you'll see it says checkmate, white wins, and then this is going to stay here for 10 seconds, and then at the end of that 10 seconds, you can go ahead and hit the end turn button, and then it should go ahead and reset the menu. So we'll just wait a little bit. And then we're back at the beginning again. We can go ahead and choose our settings and stuff. You do have to remember to reset the board, though, before you go ahead and play again. Otherwise, it'll mess with the game logic.
Hello everyone, this is Noah with the game logic portion of the Learn Chess Senior Design Project, and more specifically the AI portion of it. Unfortunately, to run it on our microcontroller, we would have needed about 30 kilobytes of RAM, and we only have 20 total, not even 20 free kilobytes. So I'm going to have to go ahead and show it here on my computer just as a proof of concept that I did have working AI. So if I go ahead and enter one player, we can go ahead and select the difficulty after this. Difficulty 1. So the way the difficulty works is it adjusts the number of nodes that the AI can search. So difficulty 1 will search 10,000 nodes, difficulty 2 allows it to search 1 million nodes, and difficulty 3 allows it to search 10 million nodes. As these difficulties scale, the time to complete them also scales. 1E7, which would be 10 million, tends to take them a few seconds, while 10,000 happens almost instantaneously on my computer. So just to give an example of that, we'll start off with just 1, and I'll go ahead and move, and then as soon as I moved, the AI basically moved right after. As you can see, it says player 1 to move, player 0 to move, and they moved their knight to c6. So just another example, if I go ahead and pick up my pawn again, place it down, you'll see that they moved their pawn now, their d7 pawn to d5. And then if I go ahead and move my pawn here, they're going to go ahead and capture it. So now I'm going to go ahead and show some move suggestions. So let's say my friend wants some help. He doesn't know exactly how to open. If I go ahead and hit enter, which would have been the end turn key on the microcontroller, you can see that the AI went ahead and moved their e7 pawn to e5. And you'll note that since I did a different opening than I did when I was just playing against the AI, which was a2 to a4, the AI also reacted to that and instead did e7 to e5 instead of their b8 knight to c6. And then, so let me go ahead and make another move, and then let the AI move again. So I did that same a4 move. The AI seemed to want to make that same knight to c6 move,